He was a giant. He was a man that Martin Luther King said, nobody has the courage of Fred Shuttlesworth. Yeah. That's what Martin Luther King said about him. He was a man that had it not been for him, we might have been still fighting segregation. He was born in Alabama. It was 1918, and he was educated in Alabama, with college at Alabama State, and soon became a preacher. And when the Supreme Court said that segregation was illegal, he got busy. Fred attacked school board. Now, when I say attack, he went and put his kids and enrolled his kids in a public school that was reserved for white people. And the response of the racists was to beat him down. They beat him badly, put him in the hospital with chains, brass knuckles, and he survived that. Kept out of the step. He kept leading. And that's what we need today. We need fearless leaders. He kept on leading. And when Martin Luther King started the Montgomery bus tour, he didn't start it. It was actually E.B. Nixon who helped to start the Montgomery bus tour ride. He been trained to follow those leaders and got them to the point where they were ready to defy the system. But when Martin Luther King had just come to town, that audience that E.B. Nixon had prepared stood up and started walking and boycotted those buses. And Fred Shuttlesworth went around the state of Alabama to let people know they should support that. So Alabama became a great place to organize because of Fred Shuttlesworth. He stood up. And you should know that not only did he inspire so many, they still inspired by him. They have, in Birmingham, the airport is named for him. Many other things are named for Fred Shuttlesworth. Had it not been for Shuttlesworth, in that time they called it Birmingham, back in the 60s, because they bombed so many people. And one of those things you'll see there is Fred's house. Put 16 sticks of dynamite, 16, on Fred's house. Blew him out of the house. My God. He landed on the mattress, and the springs came down on top of it. And the debris from the house came down on top of the springs. He walked out of there without a scratch. So I asked Fred, how is it that you've been so fearless? How is it? And you know what he told me? He said, Pat, if you believe that God will fight your battles, the only thing you got to do is what God said. For those of you who are Christians, let me tell you, I believe you, Fred. I've walked through the Red Sea. Here I am standing. Ain't got a drop of water on it. Ron, can you say just a word about Fred?
One is that, and you talk about it, Pat King is a great man, we all know that. But Fred was one of the people, one of the lieutenants that went in the area and dealt with environmental racism at that time. We got to make sure we link environmental racism.
That's right.
Because it ain't just, the toxic waste is also substandard housing.
That's right.
We need a picture right next to that one to show the historical aspects of environmental. Otherwise, there's some people creating environmental racism right now, like you just John Bond. He was the front man when Dr. King came in. He was out front and got beat up so bad, you know, and Dr. King got a lot of beatings as well. But that brother there, as long as he be dealing with some of the front men, and she always got to have a front man, you know, up front during that time. So I would just say that Fred Shuttlesworth was a leader, and he was given environmental racism at that time. And I hope when we talk about it here, that we make that historical connection. Without that, we put us in isolation. Yes. I hope that we do it connected, because substandard housing is also environmental racism. I just want to put that in another way.
Thank you, Ron. And the Southern Organizing Committee for Economic and Social Justice, which Ron and I were part of, Fred Shuttlesworth led that organization to take up what was happening in Cancer Alley. That was back in the early 90s. Well, actually in the 80s. So Fred he didn't die, or he didn't stop working with the death of segregation. He kept working. He was very instrumental in the anti-Klan network, which fought against the rise of the Ku Klux Klan and put the Ku Klux Klan back in the bed in 1979 when they marched in Decatur, and we marched behind Fred 3,000 people. When they killed the brothers and sisters in Greensboro, we marched and brought over 20,000 people to Greensboro. That was the man that Fred Shuttlesworth was. And we need to keep his legacy alive by living it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matt Bryant, for always keeping us educated. Thank you, Mr. Ron Chisholm, for your experience, and always for your very wise words. We appreciate both of you so very much that we can stand on your shoulders and continue what we do. I also want to invite before you tonight Mr. Dred Scott, who is going to speak with you tonight about a very important project that is coming up. Please welcome Mr. Dred Scott.
Thank you all for sharing this platform with me. I really, really appreciate it. It is wonderful to be here. I'm an artist, a visual artist, and when a lot of people think, oh, he's an artist, they think, oh, he paints or something like that. I do a little bit of painting, but my work shows in galleries and museums, but also on street corners. And what I'm here to talk with you about is a community-engaged performance. I love that jacket, Wilbur. That is fantastic. I'm doing a community-engaged performance called Slave Rebellion Reenactment. It's going to reenact the largest rebellion of enslaved people in the United States history. And that happened in 1811 outside of New Orleans. A lot of you probably know about it, but it's actually right in the region where the Death Alley is right now. But in 1811, one of the most important, significant, heroic events in U.S. history happened. And that is 500 enslaved people decided that the only way they could get free was not to individually escape, not to escape as a group and form a maroon colony, but to actually seize all of Orleans territory, which is modern-day Louisiana, and set up an African republic in the New World. That was a bold vision of freedom. It was going to be an African republic that would be a sanctuary for Africans and people of African descent. That actually would have eliminated slavery. It would have changed U.S. and world history. It's a real great thing that happened. The repression of the rebellion was medieval and brutal, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to actually talk about people who had this bold vision of freedom that was the most radical vision of freedom in the United States at the time. Right now, people talk, oh, well, we've got to get back to the Constitution and the framers and all that stuff. But the United States was a system that was founded on slavery and genocide. I thought I was going to get to keep that. But the United States was founded on slavery and genocide, and the most radical ideas of freedom were in the heads of the enslaved. And a lot of times people actually aren't looking to those that were enslaved as actually building a framework for getting free in the future. And so I want to reenact that rebellion with 500 people in period costumes with machetes and muskets and sickles and sabers. There will be horses. And we will ride from basically La Place down to Kenner. We will be chanting on to New Orleans, freedom or death, we're going to end slavery. join us. We're going to have African drumming. There'll be flags flying. We know that in 1811, they reported that there were 500 brigands in the field, and they're marching in formation under flags. We don't know exactly what the flags look like, but I've looked back into time and said, well, okay, what would Africans and people of African descent have actually made flags to unify them? It certainly wasn't the American flag, but we had flags that might be paying a little bit of tribute to Shango and Ogun, as well as using other languages that were there at the time. And so it is going to be a beautiful procession that is going to march from where this rebellion started down to basically the outskirts of Kenner. And then when we get there, we're going to interrupt the historic timeline. We're actually going to get on buses and go down to the old U.S. Mint. In 1811, the old U.S. Mint was Fort St. Charles. And Fort St. Charles was one of 5 forts that surrounded all of New Orleans, which was basically the French quarter, and it was fortified. There was an advanced detachment of enslaved people who were trying to seize Fort St. Charles. And they actually wanted to have weapons available so that when people got out of the plantations and down into the city, they'd have enough weapons to be able to seize the city. So we're going to honor that by going to the old U.S. Mint, and then we're going to march from there through the quarter into Congo Square. And when we get to Congo Square, we're going to flip from a military campaign to a cultural celebration. It's what's going to celebrate the achievement of these rebels who actually had this vision of getting free, as well as a celebration of African culture, in particular musical culture in America. Because without Congo Square and a couple places like it, you don't get what is modern day American music. You don't get jazz, blues, rock and roll, hip hop, disco, trap, trance, bounce. None of that exists without Congo Square. And so we're going to actually celebrate that. So part of the thing is it's going to be this vision of how people get free. And one of the things in 1811, in order for people to get free, a man named Charles Dillon, who was from plantation to plantation, and he recruited people he felt he could trust with his life to actually be leaders and lieutenants, and they in turn recruited other people. And so I'm here to recruit you. He couldn't hit up people like on Twitter or Facebook. He actually had to talk with people. And so if you were black or indigenous, which is the participants who were available and participating in the rebellion in 1811, I want to recruit you. I want you to walk 26 miles or part of 26 miles over the course of 2 days on November 8th and 9th. Okay? We will be taken care of better than they were in 1811. There'll be meals provided and water and stuff, so you don't have to go on starvation rations or anything, but you do have to walk. And if you are not black or indigenous, there's plenty of stuff to do. We have people that are going to be volunteers that will actually help bring the food to people, that will marshal the march and be kind of like stage managers, that will help relationships with the media. There's a lot of media that's interested. There's people even calling from as far away as Amsterdam that have heard about this. And so there's a lot to do, and we need to get the word out right now. Because we do have a part of an Army of the Enslaved, and we had a beautiful rehearsal just a couple days ago on Saturday. And about 30 of us got together, and we were in costume, and we started actually moving like sort of a group of people that's kind of a cohesive army. We had machetes and muskets, and particularly the women who got their hands on some of the machetes, they were so empowered. They said, I feel this. We're not playing slaves. We're not playing enslaved people. We're playing people who are freedom fighters. And so that is really important. If you want to actually embody freedom and emancipation, we've got a role for you. Come get with me, Ernest Johnson, who's going to be talking with you later about some other things. He will help recruit people. I've got some flyers to pass out, but he also can sign people up right on the spot. And this is going to be amazing. And as I said, I'm an artist, and so a lot of times, people hear something like this, they say it's a protest, and it is and it isn't. It really is an artwork. And it will be, if you're traveling home from work at Norco, or if you're traveling to go shopping in New Sarpy, and you see 500 black people with drums playing and flags flying and machetes, you'll be like, what am I looking at? What is this?
Yes.
And in that space, people can actually rethink a lot of long-held assumptions, and they can see these people not as broken down slaves, but as freedom fighters and rebels with a vision of getting free that we can all learn from. These people are heroes, and that story should be more known. It's also going to be a film. There's a filmmaker named John Comfort, who some of you might have seen. He did a project that was in the last prospect of the Ogden about Buddy Bolden. So there were 3 different screens going simultaneously. So his work doesn't show in theaters, it shows in museums. And so this is being filmed. But in order for it to be filmed, we have to have the Army. And I will say, mostly this is going to be a freedom march. Mostly it's just going to be a walk during that time. There There will be a couple people that will be portraying enslavers who we will attack, and there will be a battle scene that happens. It's going to be really cool with like muskets firing and stuff. But mostly it is a chance for people to walk in, ironically, in what is Death Alley, but is actually, at the time, was a place that was being used for liberation. And the ironic thing is now, the area that is Death Alley had these, oil refineries and toxic waste put down right on top of slave plantations. Because what was the motor of the economy in 1811 was enslavement. But then when they found something that was a different form of profitability, and it was oil, they just put that down right on top of it. And they buried graveyards, and they buried plantations, and they buried people. And so this is important ground to be able to walk through, and I would encourage you and hope that you guys will come out and be part of that. And if you can't be part of it, you can come watch it, because it will be awesome. So thank you.
Just a moment. Mr. Dred Scott is also going to be back next week to give a little longer presentation, or at least a presentation with some visuals. But we can take a couple of questions. If anybody has some quick questions for him, can they ask you those right now?
Of course.
Does anyone have a question?
What's the date again?
The 8th and 9th of November.
You have a flyer?
I've got flyers right here. Take some and pass them down. Take some and pass them down. And I got more in my bag. I just didn't grab them all out at once.
Any other questions? All right. Do those flyers have websites?
They do. It's slave-revolt.com, and if you dig it, you can actually, if you don't connect with Ernest today, you can go to slave-revolt.com and go to the participate section, and that will bring you up to a form that you can fill in. So.
All right. Give a hand for Mr. Dred Scott. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you so much. Fantastic. All right. We're going to continue tonight with talking about our march that is coming up. We're going to put boots on the ground, and as I said before, we're going to move throughout along the Mississippi River and throughout different parishes of Orleans, St. John and St. James, and St. Charles as well too. We're going to be going and advocating and standing alongside people that have been marginalized and also just being very straightforward about it, being killed, being murdered, whether it's a very quick death or whether it's a very slow, precise, planned out death. And that's what is happening. So everything that is happening in Orleans is also attached to what's happening in St. John and St. James parishes as well too. So each leg of our march is focused on a different parish. We'll start off in Orleans and then move up the river. And so we're going to talk about some things that are very much related that we'll be protesting during the march. So I'm going to ask let's start with Happy. Happy Johnson is he in here? Okay. Happy Johnson is going to talk about one aspect of the march that we're going to focus on tonight and as we go along. So as soon as he gets in this room, but I believe he's going to talk about what part of it? He's going to talk about the Entergy plant. So with no further ado, Mr. Happy Johnson, come on in the room.
Just kind of get grounded in this place, in this moment. I want to thank Sister McKenzie and Reverend Manning and Brother Pat for opening up this platform, to talk about our shared future. And this December 1st, I will be celebrating 14 years in New Orleans, being an advocate, a volunteer, working to help rebuild the city. And, God works in mysterious ways because I never imagined that this is the work that I would be doing. And we all know that it's not easy. It's very difficult. It can be extremely trying. And as Pat alluded to earlier, the work that we're doing really is a continuation of the people that have stood and fought before us. And so just in thinking about how I will present some words to you all tonight about our shared energy future, I came across this poem I wanted to share with you all. It says that the kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is another way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says it all. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. But we plant the seeds that will one day grow. We water the seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces effects beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are the workers, not the master builders. Amen? Amen. Those words just speak to me, because I don't know about you all, but we've been in this fight against the gas plant for about a little more than 3 years. And when I tell you they attack you, they attack your friends, your family, they go after everything that you have done and stand for, and everyone around you. And we've been marching, we've been protesting, yes. We then got new friends, lost friends, got cursed out, lost money, yes. Been robbed, been followed, yes. Phones tapped, and then we have our brothers and sisters say, well, we're going to do a march again. We're going to do another march. And sometimes you think, well, how do we do that? And we have to remember that we are planting the seeds. And we're watering seeds already planted. And the end result will be something that hopefully we see in our lifetime, but that we will see beyond our time. And so, just if you need encouragement, if you're wondering why you're here tonight, it's a part of God's plan. It's a part of a purpose. I like food. I've always loved food. And I love free food better than anything. And so, in thinking about, New Orleans, we have a day, every day of the week we have a meal, right? And so I want to help prepare y'all for tomorrow, which is Tuesday. And we all know that's what day? Taco Tuesday, right? And so when you think about you eating your tacos tomorrow, I want you to think about your tacos in relation to this gas plant, right? And so this just says energy efficiency and renewable energy. Those are the things that we're fighting for with community through an equity lens. Just to give you a little bit of backdrop on New Orleans, just to see how much of a wild and corrupt idea this is. New Orleans is the 15th hottest city in America. It's ranked number 1 as the city most at risk from climate change. Right now, as a state, we average 35 days a year when heat exceeds dangerous levels. By 2050, the state is projected to average nearly 115 dangerous days of heat per year. What does this mean? Our everyday energy use will increase. Currently, when you combine residential and commercial, that accounts for 50% of 3.6 million tons of greenhouse gases that the city emits every year. So just residential, commercial, and industrial, all three of those account for 50% of the greenhouse gases, and we know that that contributes to temperature, which contributes to climate change, right? Now what does that really mean for the everyday average New Orleanian, right? We know the statistics. We are second in the nation for having the highest energy cost burden on low-income residents. That means that about 20% of our annual income goes solely to electricity and gas. 20% for the vast majority of New Orleans residents. And so in order for us to really turn the tide, we know that we will need large-scale solutions. When you think about your taco tomorrow, the first word on here is toxic. Everybody say toxic.
Toxic.
Everybody say toxic.
Toxic.
All right, I want to make sure I wait. All right. It's toxic. The placement of this plant in the traditional Black and Vietnamese community is an extension of environmental racism, as we heard earlier this afternoon. Too often, the vast majority of these toxic facilities are placed in poor Black and brown communities. This plant in particular will emit annually 1 million pounds of toxic air pollution that will have a negative effect on our respiratory, our air, asthma, headaches, all types of illnesses associated with toxic air pollution, right? We know what that is. That's just for the human impacts, right? But what does it mean for the environment? It will emit 1 billion pounds of greenhouse gases annually. So this is not in the right direction, and hopefully we don't eat any tacos that are toxic. Huh? You know what I'm saying? The next word here is antiquated. Everybody say antiquated. Antiquated. All right. Burning fossil fuels is uninspiring, it's outdated, and it's not the right approach to address our everyday electricity needs. When we have the capacity for cleaner, cheaper electricity through energy efficiency and renewable energy sources through solar and battery storage. Often we hear that Entergy is the city's only Fortune 500 company in the state. And with that, we would think that they would want to lead with innovation, that they would want to help usher the state and the city in a new direction where they would put people over profits. But this model is really solely for their shareholders and their bottom line, right? We know that where utility companies don't see an increase in population, they really dig deep into this building of facilities where they finance it long term, and it's all about the bottom line, right? So this word is antiquated. The second one is corrupt. I like that. Corrupt. Let me stop on that one. Okay, corrupt. We already know that one, right? Closed door meetings, paid actors, prior agreements. We know that our city council and our utility advisors agreed on this type of approach years before the vote was taking place at City Hall. And so when you go back and look at the tapes, the way that people were shut out of the process, it was a denial of the democratic right to exercise freedom of speech. Every person in this city has a right to participate and voice their concern in the votes at our city council. And that did not take place. You guys know this saying when they say house sway. Does anybody know what that means? When they say house sway, right? So how do we get into this situation, and why is it so corrupt and all about money? The two things that really come to mind. The first one is that not only are they going to build this facility with our money, but it's called an industrial tax exemption. They have this for 10 years where they won't pay taxes for the facility. And that is nowhere in the media, no news. They just don't want people to know about it. So they got this in the day before our state executive branch changed the rules for the industrial tax exemption. And so, not only, are they killing us, but they're not paying for it. They're not helping schools. They're not improving roads or lights or anything like that. The second thing is, last year we experienced 26 outages that, by Entergy's own reporting, says was contributed by lackluster transmission and distribution system. And so if you were going to, isn't it just amazing that the city council would give them a blank check for this without thinking about the things that we need to really shore up and make our distribution system truly resilient. The last word on here is overpriced. So we will be paying for this for 30 years. Just the construction cost alone is $210 million. Entergy has a baked-in 11% profit. Our children will be paying for this plant while cities across the nation are moving in a different direction. Places are shutting down their natural gas, their fracking gas facilities. And it's unfortunate because we're a city that is extremely at risk due to climate change. We should be leading the nation, but we're not doing that. And so this type of plant, it contributes to subsidence. It weakens the durability of our levees, and it's built in a FEMA flood zone. Now, I don't know about you all, but this sounds like some funny, fuzzy math. I wish I could get a loan based on these types of circumstances, but unfortunately, that is not the case. So, toxic, antiquated, corrupt, and overpriced. Taco. When you talk to your friends, just tell them taco. When you think about the gas plant, this is your sheet to go back into your community, to talk with your friends and family, because we still have a lot of work to do. And the more informed citizens we are, the more we can stop these things from moving forward. So I'll be around for any questions. And thank you all for that.
Just one question, Happy, real quick. Talk about the Entergy's pathway to progress, what they're calling it, and why that is a scam and a lie and a deceit.
So right now there's a few things that are going on. There's a rate case where the city and advisors are trying to negotiate what your rate will be monthly, and this is the first rate case that has taken place in about 9 years. And so they haven't announced what they have agreed upon, but based on Entergy's proposal in that negotiation, they have launched this PR campaign, what they're calling a pathway to progress, but it's really a pathway to profits, because what they're doing is they're telling people that they're going to reduce their bill by maybe $1.50, between $1.50 and $3, but then mid-2020, when they're anticipating this gas plant to come online, along with 90 megawatts of solar, our bills will go up. So they're trying to take advantage of this cushion where they can tell people, hey, we really care about the fact that the majority of New Orleanians pay 20% of their income to us, but it's not true. And so we've been just trying to make sure that people know the real costs associated with the gas plant, which, when you include insurance, maintenance, fuel, it could be up to $700 million that we'll be paying over the course of 30 years. And so, these guys, they know what they're doing. They've studied the models. They know how to take us to task for every absolute penny. And so we just have to make sure that we get people who are in office that can be accountable to regular citizens. We have to stay involved and engaged, and we have to remember why we're doing this work. It's not jazzy. It doesn't happen overnight. It's really about long-term progress, small steps, so that we can kind of keep on making progress. But, we do take advantage of the victories, and as many of you all know, the judge ruled that the council in Entergy violated the Louisiana open meetings law. So that is a great victory. You think when Entergy owns every lawyer and judge in town, we had a judge that stood up and said they violated the law. And if I had started out with a prayer, I would have used a profanity word. But we got that, and of course, Entergy is appealing that ruling, and so we just have to just stay committed, stay consistent, stay connected, stay engaged, build community, organize, and keep our eye on the prize. And so we have to almost take up the mantle of Fred Shuttlesworth, who really did just put his life on the line. Everything that I read said that he said something like, I will either kill segregation or it will kill me. And far too often, I think that is that type of tenacity is what we need in this process. So,
All right, y'all give it up for Happy Johnson. Remember Taco Tuesday tomorrow, but even more importantly, stand with us as we stand outside of Entergy headquarters and demand justice in our march. That schedule is printed on our website. Join with us on that day as we demand our rights and tell them that we know the truth. With no further ado, I want to invite Mr. Ernest Johnson to the stage as he talks about what is our battle, what is our fight, what is our protest will consist of as we talk about juvenile justice in our city and in our state. Welcome, Mr. Ernest Johnson.
Inform me, give everybody else 10 minutes. Inform me I only have 5 minutes. But that's okay. So I would like to start off with saying, I think there's really a need for us to reconcile in our community. I think Saturday was an indication to everyone that we're losing. We're losing on a bunch of levels. And until we reconcile what is happening in our community, whether you're white, black, or brown, we're going to keep on losing. So when we talk about juvenile justice, we talk about it in a passive way. And every day I fight against it, but every day I find myself losing. So I say moving into 2020, we have to have a more radical plan. A lot of people talk about strategic plans, but it's just that. It's a strategic plan that very often doesn't get implemented. There's more talk around the table than there are in the streets, and about the people who are being impacted. Here in New Orleans, 99% of the families that we serve in juvenile court are African Americans. There should be an outrage. It should be a state of emergency for families and young African American males in particular that are being arrested and are impacted by the juvenile justice system. Now I want to flip the script a little bit, not intentional to anyone in this audience. If there were 98% of white kids getting arrested, there'd be an outcry that we couldn't hear or wouldn't stop hearing until there was a change. We've seen it in opium epidemic. Crack, cocaine, heroin devastated our communities, and very little was done. But when it started going to suburban areas, the federal government, every government agency invested in those communities to ensure that no more, in particular, white kids was getting overdoses on heroin. But this had been happening in the black community for a long time. They even changed the law that if I sell you heroin and you OD on it, it's a mandatory life sentence. So what I'm trying to tell you is, or ask you in so many ways, is that when we talk about juvenile crimes, and juveniles in particular, keep in mind that we're talking about young people who are adolescent, brain development, that hasn't matured in a way that adults do. But yet we sentence them and we impose things on the parents that is out of our control. When we talk about juvenile reform, we're talking about, again, a vast majority of young people, because the media takes it and sort of kind of blows it out of proportion and makes you think that it's so bad because, you know, they put it on the news, but if you look at the data, it will show that it's just a small percentage. So what I'm asking folks tonight is that when we talk about it, I tell you, get ready for 2020. And I'm not talking about the presidential race, because I find we put all our energy on government agencies, and we don't clean up our own backyard. We have to reconcile our indifference. We have to be focused on what's at play at home to change the culture of behavior, not only the New Orleans Police Department, but a bunch of other agencies across the board. And that's going to take us to put aside our indifference, reconcile our communities, and take charge of what's happening in our streets. Again, I want you to think about it. 99% of the families that come to juvenile court is African American. I would prefer, and I think you would too, is when we go to the mall, we see diverse communities. When we go to parks, we see diverse communities. Why isn't it when we go to juvenile court, not that we want any kid there, but why we only see black kids there? And we talk passive about this. We've been having passive conversations. So we have to become more radical. And I just want to touch on one thing. I think we think too much. People use their brain thinking too much. They just think they can think and think and think their way out of it. But what me and one of my partners who's in the audience is trying to is developing emotional intelligence. It's tapping into your emotional intelligence, which considers empathy and compassion for human mankind. When we think we can sit at the table and convince lawmakers, politicians, that they're going to change anything on behalf of our best interest without them having empathy and compassion about our well-being, we're in a long race. And looking at this audience, I don't know how long we can run this race, right? But, you know, we have more young people to pass that baton.
Yes.
But the folks that we have in here now, I don't know if we have all that energy to change must remind ourselves that we live in a materialistic world, but we can't take none of it with us. So we have to learn and retrain our brain and slow down. I'll leave you with this. When a storm is threatened, there's a calm. And God knows I used to get frustrated about it. But that calm between it wasn't no cell phones ringing, nothing wasn't moving, everybody was just kind of still. It was so calm and peaceful, and people relied on their neighbors and everybody else to take care of us because we were in a threat. That's what we have to refer to. Depending on each other in a way that's going to show compassion and empathy and to elude the illusion that the world is so terrible that we can't make it better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ernest. So we'll be down standing with Ernest and the Butu Village at the Youth Studies Center during our march to protest, and we hope that you will stand with us. Mr. Ernest, you got an opportunity for just a couple of questions? Anybody have any questions for Mr. Johnson? All right. That's fine. All right. And we can even see you too about the 1811 reenactment.
What I will do is pass out some calls for 1811 slavery reenactment. If folks want to volunteer to mark off what particular role you want to play, and have a good one.
About the 1811 slavery rebellion, somebody was telling a rumor that there were paid positions. Is that true or not true?
Those who participate as part of the march and have a uniform, there are initially there was $125 fee, no matter what portion you walk in. That's what I continue to fight for and tell people that, because I know one thing, we all, as black and brown folks, we always at an economic disadvantage. So when anytime I can pay somebody for anything they do, I like to pay them. So there is a $125 fee. And I also advocated that folks get paid the same day. You know, once you participate, you get your money, you know, and you can go about your business. So there are some kinks that need to be ironed out, but there's a sense of urgency now. So I know some of you folks in here know black folks, if you're not black. So, you know, let's recruit or give them a call. You know, just being honest. You know, ask your neighbor, you know, folks you come in touch with. That's another thing. We have to be honest in our conversation and transparent in our conversation. I know we use transparency a lot, but if we can just have honest conversations and say, and get away from the secret agendas, right? You know, that brings about this self-sufficient lifestyle, we can be better as a society. And because you don't like me, it's okay, as long as you respect me. And that's the way we live in this world, right? You know, as long as we have respect and, you know, honesty and transparency, I think we can make this place a great place. So again,
very good.
I'll be around. Thanks for extending my time.
That was about 20 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. My brother. All right, please. And again, to tie this all together, these are all parts of our march against environmental racism and genocide that we see happening. I want to invite to the stage Ms. Beth Butler from A Community Voice. Come on, Beth. Let's welcome Beth. Please show Beth some love as she comes to this stage and tells us about our fight that we stand alongside A Community Voice with.
I'd like to thank Justice and Beyond and everybody tonight. We've had so many victories. And really, if you look at what has been happening with this march and the fight at St. James and St. John, there has been seismic change. Mosaic, Formosa, Wahe, or however you say that. We have had major victories, even as, you know, it's just been new to go there and march. So those are some of the things that strike me about how we organize and what we do, and the importance and value of organizing and fighting back. We always have victories if we fight. That's the only way we have victories, is if we fight. So right now the march is going to stop Wednesday at the Industrial Canal at noon. And there we're going to meet with some Aiken Community Voice members. We're going to invite some people who are in the runoff and see if we can get some of them to stand up and say that they're going to help us fight. Continuing to bring plants to South Louisiana, we are so strategically located in New Orleans that is the reason why New Orleans is New Orleans. Everybody wanted to be right here. The river, but we have the railroads, we have the industrial canal, we have all of that. And so in fighting the expansion of the industrial canal, what we're fighting is the industrialization of the city. Now, never mind the fact that for 15 years there will be a construction zone like nobody's ever seen before, that it will ruin all those communities. Absolutely. That the Corps of Engineers is so problematic and corrupt that they killed over 1,000 people after Hurricane Katrina, never owned it, never apologized, but it was printed on the front page of the newspaper, their letter telling the Corps of Engineers in Vicksburg that they had no intention of repairing their levees. They knew it. They knew our levees were going to fail. The President of the United States, President Bush, knew our levees were going to fail, and none of them told us and how many people died in horror and were flooded in horror. And we still have PTSD today like crazy. And what are we, still in a big fight. The fight of the expansion of the industrial canal, literally what that means is they're going to take the lock, this big, ancient, one-time lock that nobody's got, and move it from St. Claude to way up by Galvez. So the force of the Mississippi River will be coming right into the city without any impediment. I mean, what kind of sense does that make? Nobody's ever done anything like this with any river ever. But somehow they're going to experiment on us, and they're going to take houses, historic houses, on both sides of the mouth right there, and they're going to dig into the federal flood law. This is one thing they also lie about and prevaricate and try to make it sound like they're not, but they are. So that there's another propensity for flooding at that point. The new lock is going to be so large that basically both bridges, St. Claude and North Claiborne, will have to be up at the same time for the tugs, the new large tugs with the barges to make it through. Has to be up simultaneously. 85% of the traffic on those bridges right now is from St. Bernard Parish, because we all know they work over here. Okay, so there, we have invited a councilman from over there. The first time he came to the Lower Ninth Ward, he admitted nobody from St. Bernard Parish had ever been to Orleans Parish, to our neighborhood, to say that they were willing to work with us to fight this. It was the first time. So when we are talking about the silos, and Ernest was talking about this, we have to work together. This is what is part of our strategy, is working with St. Bernard, because they have a great stake in this. They will flood. They will lose. Their citizens cannot live over there and work over here and can't get to work. So there's so much at stake that you would think we would be able to win this, but of course, this is Trump. This was on Trump's list of 40 major infrastructure projects that he was going to do when he first got in. Because Bollinger is head of is finance committee of the Republican Party for Louisiana, and this is the way it works. Bollinger, is on the board of that shipyard right up on the industrial canal, and they repair boats up there, so they really want to keep that traffic lane going. And the Corps of Engineers continues to just bald-faced lie about the need for this project and make up all kinds of stuff and use all kinds of subterfuge to keep the public from knowing what's going on. and the process is really obfuscated. However, right now we have the elections, so our focus has been to get the candidates who run for office to take a position. And we have done that with Justice and Beyond, at the forefront as well, to get them to say they're willing to fight the expansion of the industrial canal, the new Florida Avenue freeway that they want to put to the 9th, 8th, and the 7th wards, unheard of, but paid for by the state already. When we thought we were fixing the bridges and all that, and we voted this appropriation for this huge package years ago, it turned out we're paying for them to industrialize South Louisiana. Okay, this is their hidden agenda. I mean, it's right in our faces all the time. So we're fighting the Florida Avenue freeway coming through our neighborhoods and ending up on the Legion Field, insane. Heavy truck traffic from Central North. And we're fighting the lead in the water because we have pipes all over the state, just solid lead pipes, insane. We have to get them out. And the blight to bioswale. But Wednesday, we'll look for all of y'all right there on the industrial canal. If you're not going to the march, meet us over there, 4900 North Claiborne at the Katrina Monument, where it all comes together. We hope to have some elected officials to nail about what they're going to do to help us fight. And again, I want to thank Justice and Beyond, because really, no peace, no justice.
Thank you, Beth. Questions?
I think it's no justice.
Yes, live. Yes, live.
I do. It's
Or you can go to the website.
12 o'clock noon. 12 o'clock noon.
Yes, live.
I think the best way is really the Facebook page.
Best way is go to the Facebook page. It's CADA Louisiana, right?
No, it's Coalition Against Death Alley.
Coalition Against Death Alley. Go to the Facebook page, Coalition Against Death Alley. You can see the schedule there. And it's important to go there because the schedule may change as we consistently update it. So stay tuned there. We need you to come out and join us. Thank you, Beth, for that presentation. And furthermore, thank you for all the incredible work A Community Voice is doing. Give her a round of applause again. All right. Is Chuck in the house? Chuck Perkins. All right. Is Mr. Eric Lacerra in the house? All right. I want to invite one of our incredible organizers and activists that we've stood alongside and been overjoyed to do that for several years. Miss Renata Heinrich to come to the stage. Please welcome her. Welcome her even more heartily because she just celebrated a birthday.
Qualified for Medicare.
All right.
Best part.
And still going strong.
So I was asked to tie this all together. So what we're seeing here with how what we're doing to our environment and what we're doing to our people is really a culture of exploitation. Exploiting people, going back to slavery. It's racism then, it's racism today, and we, there were plantations along the Mississippi River. Now we have industry that is moving in, just grabbing all the resources that are there and leaving behind a mess, submitting the residents who live there to toxic emissions, and they're stuck with the medical bills on top. And this whole thing stems from a system where it's just making profit. Just no matter what the cost is, those who have the power have also the power to use their money to make even more money. We see how the income disparities are growing wider and wider. It's right now worse than it was in the 1920s, and there is no end in sight. It's really these companies. They just never have enough, and we are also dealing with multinational companies, like in St. James. We have Chinese and Taiwanese companies moving in. So we are the China of China now. They're producing their toxic stuff here to export it back to China. In Denka in St. John is a DuPont plant that has been sold to a Japanese company. And these multinational corporations, they just have a real power where they overpower some states. And I mean, here we also see that we have an administration on the federal level, but also on the state level, where we don't really get any protection, or they just don't do the work they're supposed to do. If you look at the Department for Environmental Quality calling people in St. John fearmongers because they are complaining, that they are fussing that there is a company that is emitting huge amounts of likely carcinogen into the air, 1,500 feet away from elementary school, and then these people, the residents who are saying, this is wrong, they're being called fearmongers by the head of the Department for Environmental Quality in Louisiana. It's just, you can't wrap your head around it, but this whole system that is built on more and more and more profit, more growth, no matter what the cost is. And we see that we everywhere reach limits where, we are setting in motion processes that are coming back to haunt us now. We see what we've done, what we're doing to the climate, and what the consequences are for the Bahamas right now. The storms are getting incredibly strong. If a storm like that would have hit our area, we would be flattened now. And this industry out there, that would just, it would just devastate everything. These toxins would be in the air, in the water, and the soil. These companies, they just declare bankruptcy, when they are overwhelmed, and then it's up to us to take care of whatever they left behind. This whole system, the way it is working right now, is coming, is heading towards a cliff, and we have to make changes. There's this, the slogan, system change, not climate change. Yes, we have to change the system because, we're dealing with physics here. We are depending on a healthy environment that is working, that we're not tearing absolutely apart in order to sustain us. Our food comes from the soil, and if we are degrading the soil, if we're putting all kinds of toxins into the soil, they end up in our bodies. And we see how actually life expectancy is decreasing in the U.S. So but we just, the thing is getting together, fighting together, connecting these issues that we have here in New Orleans, that we have up the river, that we
You know, as we further tie this all in together, we heard Ernest speak, we heard Happy speak, we heard Beth speak, and Renata. As we talk about this, we want to continually lift up those words, environmental genocide. What we are clearly seeing is that there is an orchestrated, systematic death and murder that is being calculated against people, particularly brown and black people, along the river and in New Orleans, and with the gas plant, with our criminal justice system against youth, with our utility bills, with the displacement of people to be put outside of New Orleans, with the high prices of housing and rent, the taxes that are rising. It is systematic and it is structured in order to commit genocide against our people. The environment as a whole, the conditions, the surroundings are being affected to a point that we can no longer live a quality life. And so all of these things are linked together by a very strong chain that we can work to break. And in conclusion, before we just wrap this up, I want to say this. The Episcopal Church has done some study and some great work as it involves creation care. And one of the things I read about in terms of creation care and our responsibility in keeping in mind what we leave as our carbon footprint, we have to keep in mind three specific words. Those words are greed, apathy, and selfishness. Greed, apathy, and selfishness. I said those three words to a group of pastors the other day, and they said, well, one of them said, I'm not greedy. That's the oil industries, the petrochemical industries, the plastic industries that are greedy. But what about apathy? I question us in terms of apathy. You may not own a factory, you may not own a chemical industry, but we have to get over our apathy as a people. We can no longer sit idly by and let everybody else do the work and wait for something to happen to us and be reactive. We've got to be proactive. And so I believe that we say in the church all the time that the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is apathy. And so we can no longer stand to be apathetic in terms of our friends in St. James and St. John's parishes, in terms of our youth, in terms of the housing crisis that's going on. We cannot no longer stand to be apathetic when it comes to voting. Ask your neighbor, ask your Uber driver, your Lyft driver, your mailman, did you vote? If you didn't, why not? If you didn't, you've got another chance on November 16th. Make sure you get out and vote. There is no excuse to not vote. We cannot, if we sit apathetically by and allow phony to get it on.